Hello, my name is Aaron Balke, and today's presentation is going to be originally from my Representing and Reporting assessment for my Master's of Data Analytics. This presentation uses a hospital dataset, a hypothetical hospital dataset from my university, and also one that I pulled off of Kaggle. And the point of this presentation is to compare these two and perform representations and reportings based on a comparison between those two data sets. The main technologies used are Tableau and a wee bit of Python to clean up the data set using some Jupyter notebooks and all, but it's mostly used to show off my Tableau skills. So I hope you enjoy, and thank you. Hello, my name is Aaron Balke, and in today's video I'm going to be presenting my D210 Representing and Reporting presentation. For this presentation, I am a newly hired data analyst for the WGU hospital system, and I have been working through our patient records in order to find any sort of correlations between different features and all that good stuff. And I have now been asked to do a comparison between WGU and the DIA hospital systems. A little background on me. I've, prior to this position, been a tax accountant for 10 years. And through that position, I was able to see how numbers and data directly affected individuals in their lives, their livelihoods, and I saw how data and numbers can fix real-world problems and provide practical solutions to individuals and their families. And so that's the mindset I've always had when it's come to numbers, data, and that's the mindset I have going into my current position and this presentation itself is how does data affect human beings? How can we get practical information out of this? That's the most important thing to me. Before we get started, I do want to make a note that this presentation is accessible to those who are colorblind. I have for each dashboard of this presentation, each data point will have a hover over tooltip that will explain explicitly what the data point is. It'll say what the features are for that data point. When we get into age demographics, it will say the age of the person, all of that sort of stuff. Just wanted to make a note of that before we move forward. The first thing will be to summarize our data sets. And so when it comes to our data set, this is the same data set we've been using for readmission analysis, checking for correlations between features in order to lower readmissions, and seeing what sort of features affect our patient's health. And it was a mixture of qualitative and quantitative data. There was some Boolean values in there, some nominal, ordinal, continuous, discrete, all of that good stuff, categorical. It was a very large data set. We have, since it's our data set, we have direct access to all of it, which is very handy. When it comes to our competitors, the DIA hospital system in reality is a diabetes data set from the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive Kidney Diseases. However, we are using it as our competitors' hospital systems data set. And so this data set, it's not as thorough because it's not our own. It's coming from a competitor and all, and just what they have publicly published. And so the only features we're able to gauge from it are high blood pressure, if patients have diabetes, the age of the patients, and if they're overweight or not. So very limited features, but we are able to directly compare that to our own features and variables. The one catch with all of this is we did have to do some pre-processing because our competitor had everything as continuous variables, while the features we are comparing for us are Boolean values, either yeses or nos. Is the patient overweight, underweight? Yes, no. The competitor had actual continuous variables. We just used standard conversions to change it to be a Boolean value for our competitor. And so we just took the BMI of a overweight person according to industry standards, and then converted their BMI values into yes or no overweight categories. And we did the same thing for high blood pressure and the other features we are comparing. So with all those caveats, all those asterisks put in, let's check out the demographics. So there's a lot on here. We got the gender information at the very top. We have the overweight information in the center, and the high blood pressure information on the bottom. We do have, for the right-hand side, the DIA hospital systems information, and on the left-hand side, we have our WGU hospital systems information. First thing that will stand out is that the DIA hospital system only has female patients, and so that is something we have to keep in mind when we are comparing it, that it is not apples to apples. The one way I have provided to alleviate this confusion is we do have the ability to interact with the dashboard and just show the female patients of ours. So we just apply that here, and the dashboard will change to only show for us our female population. What you will notice is that for both the WGU and the DIA hospital systems, we have more overweight patients than we do normal and underweight patients. And so that is visible in both of these center overweight groups. And then for high blood pressure, we have, in both situations, both for WGU and DIA, more standard blood pressure as opposed to high blood pressure patients. And so that's visible with both of these. The one thing to keep in mind and notice with all of these age demographics and comparisons here is that the DIA hospital system has a gradual decrease in the amount of patients they have as we go along age. And so they have a lot more 20-year-old patients than they do 80-year-old patients. We get down to pretty much zero when we get past 70. With us, we have a very steady group of patients. We have the same amount of 20-year-old patients roughly as we do 80-year-old patients. And so that's something to keep in mind as we move on. That will be playing a part in our conclusions at the end. But I just want to paint that picture for you right now. We'll set this back to all. And we will move on to the age comparisons of diabetes and overweight. And so what we have here, we have the WGU group and the DIA group on the right. When it comes to the columns, these stand for if they have diabetes or not. So the left-hand column will always be no. So this is the amount of WGU patients without diabetes. This is the DIA column without diabetes. And then the right-hand column for each of these groups is the amount with. When it comes to the colors inside these bars, that stands for if the patient is overweight or not. And so we can see that there are 2,095 WGU patients that are not overweight and do not have diabetes. We can see there's 5,167 who are overweight but don't have diabetes, etc., etc., etc. Now, the point of this dashboard is to show the difference in this right-hand column. The right-hand column is the place we don't want to be. The right-hand column in red is really where we don't want to be, because the right-hand column is diabetic patients and the red is overweight patients. And so if you are in this group down here, the diabetic and overweight group, then that is a sign that you're having some health problems, and the preference would be to have all of our patients in this no diabetes, no overweight group, the green part of the no column. And let me actually, I just realized I'm probably blocking the overweight and the diabetic column for DIA. Now, when it comes to this page, what we want to try to do is keep the red in this column higher than this, because this is WGU, where we want to have less diabetic and overweight patients than our competitor. And as we adjust the age range that we're looking at, for almost every single range you could possibly come up with, we have significantly less overweight and diabetic patients when compared to our competitor. We have, you can mess around with this, and there is very, very little spot where we are have a higher amount of overweight diabetic patients than our competitor. And so that's what I really wanted to paint with this page, is how well we are doing when it comes to diabetes and overweight patients. Now we can move on to the KPIs. When it comes to these KPIs, they stand for the patients that are very best and very worst when it comes to health. And so what I wanted to check out was how many of our patients are how many of our patients have all three, are not diabetic, are not overweight, and do not have high blood pressure. And then also, how many of our patients are on the extreme of the unhealthy side? How many of our patients are overweight, do have diabetes, and do have high blood pressure? Because by seeing these extremes and comparing these extremes, we'll have a better idea of the overall health of our data set and our patients. The first thing to notice will be these little pie charts up here. These break down the all healthy indicators. So how many of our patients, what percentage of our patients are no high blood pressure, not diabetic, and not overweight. And when we compare ourselves to the DIA hospital system, we see that we are sitting very close to the same percentage of our patients. We both are around 12 to 13% of our patients are in that great category where they don't have any negative health indicators. On the left here, we have the all healthy indicators spanning out over age. And what you'll notice is we have relatively, for the percentage of our population, we have a ton or a very even distribution of all healthy patients. You have the same amount of all healthy patients, the same percentage of 20-year-olds as you do 80 or 90-year-olds. We have the same number of patients roughly, and that shows that our older patients are still very healthy. They're doing great. They're not having a bunch of negative health indicators. When it comes to our competitor, the DIA hospital system, we see that they have a steep fall off from their 20 to 30-year-olds. They have, I believe it was around 90% of a drop off in all healthy indicators. And so when it comes to diabetes, overweight, and high blood pressure, they're not able to sustain the same amount of patients long term, keeping those all healthy indicators long term with their patients. And as a comparison, we also have the all unhealthy indicators on the right here, where we can see we're steady as well. 20-year-olds that are unhealthy, there's about the same amount as there are 80-year-olds that are unhealthy. But when it comes to DIA, they have a larger amount around the middle, so around 40 and 50, and then they are staying around the same amount of unhealthy indicators across the entire age range, while at the same time they're drastically dropping in the amount of healthy indicators, of all healthy indicators. So it means that our patients are staying healthy much, much longer into senior age groups. We have a lot more healthy 70, 80, and 90-year-olds when compared to our our competitor DIA. And to finish up and conclude, again, we have a much older patient population, which is good. It means our patients are living longer, we're keeping patients for longer, and our older population is significantly healthier than our competitors. So we have higher quality and quantity lives for our patients when compared to DIA, and we should continue to provide the same level of care we have been to those older patients. I do believe if we need to set up new steps, new necessary steps to continue having healthy elderly patients, we want to try to provide more of a positive health change to our younger patients, because if we can nurture healthy and positive changes in our younger patients, we're going to be able to continue to have high quality, high quantity lives. And so that is my my D210 analysis of our WGU and DIA hospital systems and comparison of the two. And I hope you enjoyed and have a good one.